Hi everyone, today let's talk about the Boeing whistleblower allegation. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So Boeing had another whistleblower allegation, surprise surprise, on the back of the last allegation, who is now dead under suspicious circumstances. But this one is about this 777 and this 787, and you can see it here. Spokesperson for the whistleblower mentioned 787 and 777 jets are being looked at. Boeing has obviously had a lot of safety issues, most recently the 737 MAX air panel blowout, but they've had issues with the 737 before with the crashes that they had due to software. Also, the 787 had to cease production for more than a year due to some issues with the shims, as well as skin flatness specifications. And now this most recent whistleblower allegation is that there are structural issues within the 787 and 777 frames, and that when this engineer identified the issues, he was basically told to stop worrying about it and that it's fine. He then suggests that Boeing, and this is not unusual for Boeing, they have cut corners before, and this is because they have such a massive backlog of aircraft. They don't produce a lot of aircraft and people really want them. Their backlog is many years long at this point, and that is definitely harming their bottom line. They can't make aircraft fast enough to keep up with demand, and these planes are very expensive, and the margins on them are not as good as you would think. And due to all of these issues, they've had to go back and do rework on these projects, which then further cuts into the margins of these aircraft and further reduces their ability to produce airplanes. But getting back to this whistleblower complaint, you can see he is mentioning additional stress on airplane joints with drilling debris within key joints of over 1,000 planes. He also mentioned some misalignment of the airframe within the wide-body 777, and he said he saw people literally jumping on pieces of the airplane to get them aligned. Obviously, on the back of this news, Boeing was down even more, and we're definitely going to take a look at the charts. They are not great. And now you have the federal government getting even more involved, examining the safety and quality assurance process within Boeing, and the CEO has already said that he is going to step down by the end of the year. And on the back of that has been a positive move for the stock, at least a little bit. Obviously, it's not going to overcome all of these issues that we're seeing, but it could be a step in the right direction. Maybe these issues are stemming from the top down, and it will be interesting to see how this one ends up. And moving over to the charts here for Boeing, you can see it's been a tough couple of weeks. We topped out here in December around 262, 263. I have a level there, 258, tested that level, and then we broke down massive all the way down to the 177.57 level. And then pre-market here, we are down at 176.32, and it does seem like this is set to break down to that 158.50 level. And then if that breaks down, there's a lot of room here. There's a midpoint at 146.48, but then your next level of support would be all the way down here at 124. I don't necessarily think Boeing is going to get that cheap again, but if we continue to get these catalysts to the downside, this structure, it does seem like this is going to break down at least into the 150s, if not down into the 140s. Momentum and RSI definitely bearish here on the weekly chart. And if you zoom out, this has definitely been a tough investment. You can see Boeing topped out all the way around 444, and we've been cut in half several times during that time period. Bottomed out here in March of 20, down around $92, absolutely massive. In that level, even Boeing looks cheap with all of the issues that it's been having. But jumping down to the daily chart, you can see this most recent price action, big rally up, almost vertical here, right to that peak in December, and then since then it's just been cratering. Massive legs down on the news and the whistleblowers, sideways chop, and now we are moving lower again. Momentum and RSI, definitely bearish. Volume stepping up on that selling pressure does not look great. Moving over to the tasty charts, again, starting here with the weekly, you can see that 444 peak, pulled all the way back to 96. You can see we overthrew that ATR band there in March of 2000, rallied up, and then been sideways chopped during that, basically for the last several years. And you can see that lower ATR band here on the weekly chart, currently sitting at 173.43. So we're basically right on top of it. Momentum, obviously bearish. Volume, again, showing bearishness. You can see massive volume on that selling pressure. It does seem like it's set to go lower, bearish conditions on the ATR stops, and you can see this does seem like it's set to go lower. Otherwise, looking at the daily chart, you can see that lower ATR sitting down at 171.36. That seems like where we're headed, at least in the short term. Could absolutely overthrow it a little bit, just like we did here, especially on these catalysts, and you can see volume coming through on yesterday's candle as this continues to sell here today. And then looking at shorter time frames, again, massive selling here on the news, and then we've continued to sell, continuing to ride that 8 EMA on the 4-hour That's currently sitting at 179.09, so that would be your upper resistance, continuing to ride that to the downside between that level and that third ATR. So on the 4-hour, it's a little bit tighter, 176.90. So could take a while to get down to those lower levels that we talked about on the weekly chart on the trading view charts. These ATRs tend to hold up, at least in the short term. You can see on a catalyst, it can absolutely overthrow and then kind of sideways chop and then overthrow and then sideways chop. So keep in mind, as with any indicator, they're not completely perfect all of the time, but you can see we've been riding that level, hitting the 8 EMA and riding that level. So definitely a bearish trend, couple of levels of support in there, but very much still bearish conditions. And then looking at the hourly chart, again, bearish conditions, lower ATR here at 175.76. So looks like the daily chart gives you the lowest price target around that 171 area, at least in the short term, but everything is very much trending to the downside. And then moving over to the options here just for a moment, you can see the 2-day options are actually not that volatile, only $1.80 here for the 177.50 puts, and that is with markets basically sitting at that level, 178 they closed for yesterday's session. So really not a ton of volatility, and it does seem like it's going to cover that in my opinion, especially with the CPI report that we got being a little bit hotter. That's probably going to send markets lower. And with this catalyst plus CPI, I would expect it to break down quite a bit. I think these 50-cent ones here at the 172 level do make sense. We'll see what markets look like when they open up. But right now, if you can get about $5 out of the market for 50 cents, it does seem like a pretty decent opportunity, especially with the charts looking as bad as they do. Let me know down in the comments section what you think of Boeing. Is it cheap at this point, or will these catalysts continue to drive Boeing lower? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.